Hello and welcome to the Ryersonian Podcast for the week of September 16th. I'm Samantha Fernandes.
And I'm Amanda Kline. We're bringing you Ryerson's freshest news and the top stories of the week from across Canadian university campuses.
In this week's episode, we look at controversies surrounding the iconic Sam the Record Man sign, why Gould Street is glittering, and a St. Mary's University student pleads guilty to sexual assault. Also, we'll be chatting with our very own Jonathan Ferrani about his top picks from TIFF.
Here on campus, the controversy surrounding a Toronto landmark continues. City Council voted on Tuesday to give Ryerson 1 year to find a home for the iconic Sam the Record Man sign. Ryerson had originally agreed to remount the sign after purchasing the store's space on Yonge Street, but the deal was renegotiated after it was discovered that it would cost more than $250,000 to repair and hang the sign. The Ryersonian's Emma Jarrett has more on the story.
Yes, the Sam the Record Man sign is stirring up still more controversy on campus this week. But what we've noticed is the question that's coming up more than any other is where is the sign and what state is it in? So we did a little digging and we found out that the sign is stored at an off-site warehouse in the GTA. But the catch is, the sign has been broken down to pieces. We caught up with the Mackle brothers, and they're the original makers of the sign in 1971. And they said that they fully support redoing the sign completely. And even better, they're the ones who'd be able to do it. They kept the old order forms, and they have all the dimensions and all the amount of material needed for it, and they could make a perfect replica. Now, interestingly, they did send a letter to the school, but they never got a response.
Ryerson President Sheldon Levy also spoke to Emma about the controversy surrounding the sign.
Why wasn't the sign built into it? I mean, if you're starting from scratch on a building, you have the opportunity.
It's because it wasn't required. That was not the requirement from the city. It was not that you were going to hire an architect to build a building that would incorporate that sign. That was not the agreement. People want to pretend that was the agreement. Someone might have now say that should have been the agreement. That's a different thing. That was not the agreement.
Gould Street, it's our main drag, the heart of our campus, and this year, it's bright. This temporary construction fix cost Ryerson $25,000. The road was painted yellow to cover up work the city did over the summer, but it's already showing signs of wear and tear. And some students are wondering, was it really worth it?
To be fair, working for the city, I know what contracting is outside, and we spent $100,000 on even stupider stuff. So $25,000 is actually a small amount when you look in the realism of what a university is, how much you have to pay for it, and the cost of labor nowadays.
I think $25,000 can go towards like equipment at the gym or something more useful that'll help like students, but yeah, definitely not a good use.
Ryerson plans on repainting it with a more durable paint while they work with the city to continue improvements.
St. Mary's University announced last week that one of their students has pled guilty to sexual assault. Student Konstanty Bedoa-Gorski pled guilty to sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. He has been granted a stay so that he can complete his semester. But the university says he has been suspended while he awaits a disciplinary hearing. St. Mary's made national news earlier this month over a Frosh Week chant about non-consensual sex. The school's student union president and vice president both resigned after the chant was publicized. Last Thursday, students at the Halifax University held a rally against rape and sexism. They sang a new, positive version of the chant.
Renowned Canadian political scientist David E. Smith has joined Ryerson as a distinguished visiting professor. Smith will be with the Faculty of Arts Department of Politics and Public Administration. He has received numerous awards for his books on Canadian government, politics, and public policy. Smith sat down with the Ryersonian to discuss his newest book, Across the Aisle, Opposition in Canadian Politics.
It may be the parliamentary system needs to, at some point, has to be reformed to allow more opportunity for criticism, not just of the institutional opposition, but also more public.
Smith will be with the school for a 1-year term.
The Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities is set to implement big changes to Ontario's post-secondary education sector over the next 6 months. MCTU Minister Brad Duguid said he expects greater differences between institutions, more e-learning opportunities, and easier credit transfers. The ministry has now entered the decision-making stage. Duguid met with faculty and student groups over the summer and says that both groups recognize that the current system is not sustainable. The province is expected to make announcements addressing 3 key issues in the next 6 months.
The first coach of the Ryerson Rams women's hockey team, Lisa Jordan, is off to Sochi for the 2014 Winter Olympics. Jordan will serve as the assistant coach for the senior girls women's national team this year. Replacing her is interim coach Pierre Alain, who up until now hasn't coached at the CIS level, but Jordan is confident in his abilities.
Right, so Pierre and I, we go back probably about 8 or 9 years with Hockey Canada. We've coached at some World Championships together. We've enjoyed some gold medals and things like that. So I have a lot of respect for the way that Pierre coaches the game and the passion and the fun that he brings. And I think that my players respond well to that.
In its 3 years of existence, the team has not yet made it to the playoffs, but with 2 years under their belt, the team hopes this year will be different.
I think now that a majority of us are third-year students, we have that experience under the belt. We can't say we're a new team anymore, and we know what to expect coming into games. We know how to bounce back when we're down goals. We know how to protect a lead.
The Rams lost to Laurentian 2-3 Saturday night, but won against Leaside 6-1 on Friday.
Memorial University Student Union is looking to address complaints about unpaid work terms. The student union has started collecting information from students, faculty, and program organizers. Students have to pay tuition fees while completing unpaid internships. This makes it difficult for many students to make ends meet during these terms. The information collected will be used to start a campaign to address work term equity.
An exhibit featuring the works of 62 Spanish architects is on display at Ryerson. The Young Architects of Spain exhibit has opened at the Paul H. Cocker Building. The works were chosen after an open call to Spanish architects under the age of 40. An international jury of architects selected the works from 800 submissions. Ryerson is the traveling exhibit's 18th and final stop. Anton Garcia Abril is one of the featured architects.
And architecture is not about buildings. Architecture is about people. It's public, it's communal, it's something that we really share. Architecture is something that is part of all of us.
The Young Architects of Spain exhibit is open to the public and runs until October 4th.
More than a dozen members of the Canadian Federation of Students have begun a move to leave the CFS. Of the 83 members across the country, 15 are rallying to hold a membership referendum. This marks the largest potential exodus from the organization. Ryerson, University of Toronto, York, and Laurentian have all confirmed they will apply to host a referendum. To leave the CFS, members of the student union must collect a petition with signatures and present it to the CFS executive. Once the signatures are ratified, a date is set for the referendum to take place.
Ryerson's School of Fashion has its very own former Olympian in its midst. Kelsey Titmarsh participated in the 2012 Olympic Games as a rhythmic gymnast. A trip to Ryerson's School of Fashion sparked a desire to bring fashion and gymnastics together.
And I saw this amazing show, and the second it started, I was like, this is what I want to do. I have to go here, and I have to, I pictured myself in however many years at the end, all my designs being down the runway.
Titmarsh didn't think she would continue gymnastics when she started school, but couldn't keep herself away.
I was planning on retiring right after. I did, and I started school. And then after I started school, I was like, oh my goodness, I actually miss it so much. I have to go back. I just have to go.
And now we're joined by our very own Jonathan Ferrani to tell us about the top films at TIFF. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm great, Amanda.
How was your week?
It was wonderful. I got to spend it watching movies. As any TIFF goer knows, the People's Choice win basically sets the film up for Oscar Gold. If we look at previous People's Choice Award winners, you've got Silver Linings Playbook of last year, The King's Speech, Slumdog Millionaire, all of which were huge winners at the Oscars. Some other big TIFF winners include Gravity, starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, Blue is the Warmest Color, which won big at the Cannes Film Festival, Rush, and Dallas Buyers Club. So make sure to look out for those films as they are released in the upcoming months.
So Jonathan, I heard you got to sit down with some Ryerson filmmakers who were a part of TIFF.
That's right. I sat down with some Ryerson grads, Walter Woodman and Patrick Cederberg. They directed a film called Noah, and it's entirely filmed with a webcam, and it follows this teenager's breakup with his girlfriend, and it's a really kind of fascinating look at our internet culture.
Did that film by the Ryerson grads win any awards?
It did, actually. It won the YouTube Award for Best Canadian Short Film. And it's a really exciting time for those two directors because they were featured on the Huffington Post and they were featured on Gawker. And last I checked, it had upwards of 500,000 views on YouTube. So it's a big moment for them.
Wow. And also, word on the street is that you got to go to some TIFF parties. Are there any rumors or gossip that you can spread on our show?
Well, Sam, the rumors are correct. I did go to a couple parties. I managed to get myself into the Soho House for a Daniel Radcliffe film called Horns with him and Juno Temple. It's by the director who did Piranha 3D, and that's all I'll say on that topic. But it was an interesting party. Harry Potter is very short in person. But it was cool. Juno Temple really enjoyed her vodka drinks. It was a good time.
And I heard his parents were there. Is that true?
That is true. His parents were there. I can tell you he gets his shortness from his mother. I actually chatted with his parents briefly. It wasn't their first time to Canada. They've been to Vancouver before. And I actually witnessed them meeting Juno Temple for the first time, which was really cool.
And what was your favorite film of the festival?
I'm a big sucker for Kate Winslet, so my favorite film of the festival was Labor Day. I think it'll be a bit sappy for some people. It kind of has a Nicholas Sparks vibe, but it's by the great Canadian director Jason Reitman, so I think he's able to overcome of those sentimental tendencies.
Well, that's it for another year at TIFF. Thanks, Jonathan.
My pleasure, Sam.
And that's it for this week's Ryersonian Podcast. I'm Samantha Fernandes.
And I'm Amanda Kline. Tune in next week for more Ryerson and Canadian University news updates. Have a great week.